Hey guys, I just saw Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, and I'm gonna give you my thoughts on it in this quick review. So the quick review I did on Elemental did pretty well, and I figured since I was seeing Indiana Jones literally the next week, I figured I could make a video on that too. Indiana Jones is a series that I'm really fond of, as most people are. I love Spielberg's direction, I love the music, I love Indiana Jones himself, I love the action set pieces. I just now went to rewatch this series before seeing this movie in theaters, and I'm amazed at how much it still holds up. All four of these movies, yes, four of them, even Crystal Skull, have things that I can appreciate. They all have pieces that are great, even if the movies themselves are not amazing as a whole. And I think a lot of that comes down to the talent and skill of Steven Spielberg behind the camera. Even when some of the Indiana Jones movies are not that great plot or story or character-wise, you still get Steven Spielberg, and he is going to direct the crap out of some action set pieces. Spielberg just knows how to do it. He's been doing it long enough, and he's got enough talent behind the camera that no matter how bad the film, he can make it entertaining with some great action set pieces. And I think that is one of the reasons that this Indiana Jones series has had so much staying power over the years. And that brings us to The Dial of Destiny, which is not directed by Steven Spielberg. Instead, it is directed by James Mangold. And I'm not going to criticize Mangold too much because I'm not really familiar with his work, because this is literally the only Mangold film that I've seen, but you can definitely feel the lack of Spielberg in this movie. The movie feels like an Indiana Jones film, but you can't help but think there's something missing. And the thing missing is Spielberg himself. But to get more into that stuff, I will have to get into spoilers. So if you don't want spoilers, you can skip ahead. I'll give you the time frame later. But some last minute non-spoiler thoughts. This movie feels like an Indiana Jones movie. If you look at just the plot itself, just the bare bones outline, you can definitely see how this movie would work. Harrison Ford is still clearly having fun with the role. I thought Phoebe Waller-Bridge was a really nice addition. I thought that the story itself and the adventure and the action was there, but I feel like it did lack that certain charm that the original Spielberg films had. But for that, we'll have to get into spoilers. So if you don't want spoilers, go away now. When I say that I miss Steven Spielberg directing these Indiana Jones movies, I don't just mean that I miss him in the action scenes, because Steven Spielberg did a lot more than just direct the crap out of some action scenes. For example, when you look at The Last Crusade, one of my favorite Indiana Jones movies, you have shots like this where you see young Indiana where he's looking with his head down, and then you immediately cut to a present day Indiana Jones. And it's just these seamless transitions that are just so great and stylized. Meanwhile, there's another hilarious cut in The Last Crusade, where Indiana Jones is explaining how good Marcus Brody is, and how he's probably found the Grail already, only to cut to Brody, where he is completely confused and asking if anyone speaks English. It's just this charm that Spielberg has, and even though I only mention with the Last Crusade examples, it's in all of the Indiana Jones films. Like one of the final shots in Crystal Skull, when the doors blow open and the hat blows to the feet of Shia LaBeouf, and then he picks it up for a second before Indy snatches it out of his hand. A little stuff like this that Spielberg just gets. Like, I've been gushing over Spielberg for a while on this channel now. Like, you guys saw how much I love Spielberg if you watched the Jurassic Park videos that I did. But Steven Spielberg is just great. But then when we do get to the action set pieces, they're just so iconic. Like, even in the not-so-great movies, like The Temple of Doom, has the minecart chase, which is just awesome and exhilarating, and it feels like I'm on a roller coaster. And then, even in the Crystal Skull, we have the fire ant sequence, or we have Shia LaBeouf sword fighting on top of the moving cars. And then when we get to the better movies, we obviously have the iconic boulder chase in Raiders, and then we have that long tank sequence in The Last Crusade. These action sequences are long and drawn out, but they never feel boring in any way. They keep your attention and they hold on to it tightly, with great directing and great music and great editing all around, and a lot of that comes down to Spielberg. I say all of this because when we get to the Dial of Destiny, a lot of the action set pieces feel similar. And I don't mean they're all exactly the same, because they're obviously not. They take place in different locations. We get the opening on the train, which was my favorite action set piece of the film. We get the car chase. We get the part where they're underwater. We get the ending on the plane, obviously. But these action set pieces, to me, the film got into a very dull flow, where it was an action scene, and then we see either the villain talking or Indiana Jones talking, and we immediately jump right to the next action scene. And I know that's how Indiana Jones films are typically structured, but to me it just felt very inorganic in this sense. It felt like they were doing it to please the formula of Indiana Jones movies. Because when you watch the action set pieces, you're never on the edge of your seat like you are in the Last Crusade tank sequence or the Raiders boulder chase. It never gets to that level, at least not for me. I thought the train sequence was an awesome start, but as the film went on and on for 2.5 hours, I find myself growing duller and duller to these action set pieces. But looking beyond the action with Mangold's direction, I just don't find a lot that stands out like I did with Spielberg. There's not much of those great transitions that I just mentioned with Spielberg, and there's some shots that look nice. Like when we start the car chase, there's this little pan shot that Mangold does that people were talking about when the clip was released on Twitter. But after that shot, we go right back to regular directing. Like, it's fine, he's not doing a bad job or anything, but when you go from the way Spielberg directed these scenes to the way Mangold does it, you can't help but notice the difference. But I'm gonna stop ragging on Mangold here, because let's talk about some of the good things that I liked. As I said, it does still feel like an Indiana Jones movie. Even if it is formulaic, you still get the adventure, and the actors are still having a good time. Harrison Ford still plays the character well. I enjoyed the addition of Phoebe Waller-Bridge. I thought Mads Mikkelsen had a nice performance as the villain, but he was kind of written in a boring way, I guess. But then at the end, when they go back in time, I was happy that they actually did go back in time instead of just like teasing it or whatever. But by then, we were like 2.5 hours in, and I was already like, alright, can we wrap this up, please? So I wasn't as invested in that, honestly. But maybe that just needs another watch for me. But I thought the adventure itself was interesting. We still get moments of Indy being smart. But there is one moment that I really did not like, and it comes towards the end. When Indiana Jones is like, I am dying, I'm gonna stay back in time, you guys go on without me. I didn't like this moment, because earlier, Indy gets shot, and so he's like dying this whole time. But him getting shot happened a while ago, and it never seemed to be a big problem until now. Like, me and the friend that I saw this with, we literally forgot that Indy got shot, because the movie goes like 20 minutes before he's dying in the last scene. And you know they're not going to kill Indiana Jones. You know it's not going to happen. So that just felt a little bit forced to me. I don't know. Maybe I was just run down by the 2.5 hour runtime or something. I don't know. That just felt weird to me. But towards the end, we do get the return of Marion. which I liked. I liked their little callback to Raiders with the kissing, but it did feel like an insane cop-out. Now, I know that Shia LaBeouf can't be in these movies anymore, but they just mentioned in one line that he died in the Vietnam War, which I don't know why, but I thought that was kind of funny. But apparently after that, him and Marion split up. But I am happy that the film at least addressed it instead of just leaving it and forgetting about it. I'm happy the film addressed it. But, like, if Marion can show up for the ending, why couldn't she just, like, be in the movie more? I don't know. Like, they're probably going to reboot this again in, like, 5 or 10 years, and him and Marion will be split up again, and Harrison Ford will be 90 years old, and they'll be divorced again, but then at the end, they'll get back together again. I don't know, it just felt like after the ending of Crystal Skull, with Indy getting his happy marriage, it felt like a cop-out to just have them split up off-screen, only to get together in the end again. But that pretty much sums up my spoiler thoughts of this movie, so non-spoiler people, you can come back now. So to finish up my thoughts on The Dial of Destiny, my biggest takeaway is you can feel the lack of Steven Spielberg. But I don't think this movie is all that bad. If you look at the bare bones plot, it is an Indiana Jones movie. It's got the action, it's got the fun characters, the actors are having a good time, it has the music, the pieces are there. But it just does feel really long and a bit dull without Spielberg. So with that, I'm gonna give Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny a 5 out of 10. And also just obligatory Indiana Jones ranking. Last Crusade is the best one, then Raiders, then Temple of Doom, then Crystal Skull, and then last, unfortunately, is the Dial of Destiny. But that's all for this quick review, guys. I'll see you all later.